think big data has really been a big buzzword. I mean, but what does it really mean, right? So today we'll be unpackaging that, how big data can improve the customer service experience and also enhance the delivery in your business. And we promised to try and not lose you with all the scientific jargon. And I think our wonderful speakers today will try and break it down a bit in the language that we maybe understand, because it sometimes does get a little scientific. But ultimately, we really want to dig deeper into what is big data, why does it matter, how do we use, these large volumes of data, both structured and unstructured, what is the impact on your business on a day-to-day basis. And we really, really are looking forward to that. We have an amazing panelist, which I'm proud to say is 80% women. And I think in celebration of Women's Month, I think it's only fair that I introduced our ladies first. So first up, we have Nyaradzo Museza, and if you could please just put on your camera so everybody can see you. Who is a data analyst at Tel1, and she's also responsible for digital transformation and data-driven decision-making at Tel1, and she was part of the first team that actually set that up. We also have Gwen Chireka, who is a freelance brand strategist and social media manager who helps SMEs and entrepreneurs create standout brands. And then we have Miranda Chidemo, who has 7 years of experience in the industry. She has a degree in data science and has worked on some really exciting customer solutions. And finally, we have our keynote speaker, Chris Orwa, who has over 10 years experience. Hi, Chris. Spanning banking, telecommunications, and media. And Chris was actually one of the lead data scientists at I&M Bank, also supported M-Pesa merchant services, by generating insights and to really, come up with great product development. So I think that's going to be really fantastic to get your insights. So Chris, I think we'll hand the floor over to you, and you can, take us through your presentation and discussion, and thank you.
Thanks, Amira. So let me share my screen. Okay. Okay. Every time it, one sec. Actually looks a bit different. Yeah,
technology.
Yes, like
little arrow that says open share tray. I think next to the mic.
Okay, just send it. All right, I got it. So I got Windows. Let me check. Okay. Let me select my window. I hope this is the right one.
Awesome. We can see.
All right.
Thanks.
Success. Okay. So if you can see my screen, then I'll just go ahead. So as I've been introduced, my name Chris Orwa. I'm Kenyan. I work mostly in Kenya, but I've worked with a few countries in Africa and Europe. Online, I'm known as Black Orwa. This is a funny name. So if you want to look me up online, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, go to Black Orwa. I like this mantra called "Simple Things Done Well," because when you're in the data world, things can get really complex. And one of the things I had to struggle with is to take all that complexity and explain it in a very simple way. So I have a degree in computer science. I got interested in data science in my fourth year in university through my lecturer, and I wanted to predict things, analyze things, and generate insights. So that launched me into the data science field. It was not known as data science at that point. It was mostly called data mining, statistical something, and so I just started off with that, and so I managed to work in different roles as a data scientist, and currently I'm head of data at Sendy, which is a logistic e-commerce company with presence in 4 African countries and looking to grow into other countries. So, so today I thought about, so this is about brand, it is about marketing, and about how the intersections of those two fields come together, data and marketing. I thought about talking about customer value management. If you've worked in a telco company or in a big corporate company, you usually find that the companies have the CVM department, which most of the time interfaces with marketing or does some marketing functions. But you'll find that in most organizations, the role of acquiring new customers is usually, or generating leads, that is usually a role for the marketing department. But once those customers, once those leads land into your database or have been activated, the work of retaining, improving the value of those customer and preventing the customers from leaving falls into the CVM department. So what is CVM? This CVM is a totality of all the efforts that are done to maintain or improve customer value that you have in a company. So you can do, and this is not limited to data and technical stuff. It could be, okay, we want to offer incentives to a customer to enable them do more, right? We can use data analysis to understand customer behavior. We can also use both behavioral science to understand, okay, how do customers behave? What motivates customers? What makes a customer leave a service or a subscription for that? There's just people know how. It's just people, I've worked in an industry, and I know how that industry operates. It's about setting up systems that make things smoother. For that case, it's also about training your staff to understand more about the customers, and everything, running KPIs that you have internally to understand how the business is performing relative to for the customers. So all these things create what you call the CVM program. And I think I had this example where I was working at a telco company, and we were tasked with creating. So there's a USSD code where customers go in and they find data bundles, like $10 for 1 GB, $5 for 50 GB, and etc. So there was a whole bouquet of bundles, but you could only display 3 of them to a customer. So I was working as a data scientist, and the data team was asked, perhaps you can create a machine learning model that would be able to predict which bundle a customer is likely to purchase for that case. And we're like, yeah, sure. This seems like, right down the alley of a data scientist. And then the couple of other people who were already, based on their understanding about business and purchases of bundles and what moves the market, they decided, like, you know what, we can sit down and say, for this type of customers, we'll offer them these bundles. And there was a tug of war. And then in that case, there was a showdown. And it was decided, like, hey, let the machine learning have a showdown with the human-generated bundles. And at the end of the day, we'd look at, let's take a segment of the customer, let's expose these bundles that have been generated by a machine learning system, and other customers who have the human-generated bundles, and see, on average, which side has more. Who'd like to guess which one won? Anyone? Random answer?
You are welcome to use the chat group, or if you want to raise your hand, please feel free to be as interactive and engaging.
No, just anyone, random answer between, sorry? I think someone will say something.
So we got one response from Tafazwa, who is saying He thinks it was the machine.
All right.
Comments, feel free to send them through. Samantha says the machine.
Okay, so we have 2 for machine.
Yes.
Machine 2, human 0. So actually, it's the opposite. The humans won, and that shows you that CVM is just analytics plays a very specific role, but sometimes humans have additional information that machines don't have. For example, they understand it's a football season. People watch a lot of football online. It's the season for something else, so people want to purchase certain cheaper bundles to partake in certain exercises, and the machine just looked at your purchases, your previous purchases, and that kind of stuff. So CVM encompasses all those things. So what do you do with the CVM? You're in a business, you're in the marketing team or in the products team, and you've been asked, hey, we want to acquire new customers. And when you look at the product adoption rate, maybe the product adoption rate is flattening off. And as you know, anything that's not growing is dying. And then the business say like, hey, we need to turbocharge new customers, the acquisition of new customers. So that's one of the tasks of a customer value management. Or, we are losing too many customers. We have to retain our customer. Maybe our competitors are doing a better job than us. So we need to, prevent people from leaving. Do we, give them good offers, or do we improve our services or something like that for that case? Then that's another thing you do. Or you have your existing customers. You want to increase the value to the business that they have. Everyone is spending on average $10 a month on our services. We want to push them to spend $15 a month. So those are kind of the 3 major tasks that a CVM department usually has: acquire, retain, or increase the value of customers. So now that you have those 3 major things to do, now you go into the tactical part. So you have the strategy of, okay, this is what we want to do. In this quarter, we want to acquire new customers, or in this quarter, we want to retain customers. So after you have the strategy, then now you move into the tactical bit of it. You ask yourself, I want to create campaigns. Or what mechanism should I qualify customers for a campaign? For example, we're having a discount campaign. We want to discount our subscription for the next 3 months at 0.5%. So which customer should qualify for that particular campaign? You ask yourself such questions. So how many customers should be addressed by the program initiative? So for example, do we want to expose 10%, 20%, 30% of our customer base in a particular campaign? And when you have customer segments, which segment should I should I go for them? Because sometimes you have your high net worth customers, your middle net worth customers, and low net worth customers. Who should I target? Or if you have a different mix of whatever for that case. So now you're moving into the tactical level, and also which segment should be excluded. Sometimes if you are, especially in the consumer business, you'll understand that sometimes you have your high net worth customers who don't want to be bombarded by SMSs and stuff. They are your customers. They're all with you. They buy your vision, and they don't need any further convincing. And any too much intrusion might likely to push them away or make them stop as a customer. So you could decide, okay, for this segment of customers, we will not bother them with any marketing interventions for that. So you ask all these questions, and now this is the question that now gets pushed into a data scientist. So the marketing team and the CVM team plus the product team decide, like, okay, this is what we want to do. So data scientists, who should we qualify for this campaign? That's where now the role of data, big data, analytics, data science works in. It comes in at the tactical level to fit into the strategies or the ways of solving this particular problems that you have. And you go on, and most of the time you're given all this Rolodex of things like how much should we invest customer in the campaigns you're likely to do. how much return are we likely to have? So the marketing team will sit down and create all these questions which need answers from a data a scientist. So now that's done. Now it's the time to start the collaboration between the data scientist and the marketing stroke the CVM or product teams, depending on how you're doing that. So you decided we want to improve ROI, we want to improve the market shares, and etc. You go back and discuss the strategy for that, because most of the time you'll figure out if you're a data analyst or a data scientist, it's very easy to get lost into the technicalities of, you know, I'm going to use this tool, I'm going to make this prediction, without tying it back to the overall business need that you have. So I like to pause there for a minute and discuss something which is very important, and probably it affect the business. We've talked about the CVM, customer value management. If you work in an enterprise business, which is a B2B business, vis-a-vis when you work at a consumer business, like that's a B2C kind of business. These are very two different industries. You may most likely not find a CVM department in a B2B business, and that mostly exists in a consumer-based business. And one of the things that you'll discover if you're in a consumer business, how you grow your product, naturally, either it's word of mouth. Like if you think about Facebook, Twitter, Google, most of them grow by word of mouth. If you look at an e-commerce business, if you buy a nice dress, you'll tell your friend. If you had a very good service somewhere, you'll tell your friend. So product will go there, and you know, so the marketing team can look at how do we create viral videos, viral photos to grow for that. In an enterprise business, this is through sales acquisition. It's through someone knocking on a door and saying like, hey, I like to, you know, sell internet connection to you. I want you to become my customer. I want to supply you with certain businesses for that. So the way an enterprise business grows, it's very different from how a consumer company grows. So in a consumer business, that means in the consumer B2C business, you really need to understand your customer, how you're acquiring them, which marketing channels should you use. While in an enterprise business, you just need a sales force. Hire, you know, a bunch of like 10 or 20 people, let them go to door, company to company, and say like, hey, I'm a representative from this company. Would you be interested to become you know, one of our suppliers for a certain product? We'll supply you at this rate. So there is less need for understanding customer behavior or behaviors in a B2B business in comparison with a B2C business. And maybe I know our panelists have different experiences. I think we have B2B and B2C. What has been your experience in customer? Before we go ahead, what's the experience in customer acquisition and understanding how you build your customer base on a B2B versus a B2C?
Thanks, Chris. And I think Nyaradzo, I would also be particularly interested from the TAL1 perspective, you know, what the experience has been, if you could just maybe enlighten us a bit more on that.
Hello.
Hi, Nyaradzo. I'm not sure if your microphone is still muted.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I think Nyaradzo is having some issues there. Maybe Miranda?
Yeah, can you hear me now? I think.
Oh, yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Saying thank you, Amira. Thank you, Chris, for the presentation. My name is Nyaradzo Mseza. I'm a data analyst at TAL1 Private Limited. For us as a company, there is a lot of competition. So we don't have this thin line between customer services for B2B and B2C. From my understanding, from the analytics perspective that I've been exposed to, customer service is now beyond just, delivering the immediate needs of the customer. It goes beyond. It goes beyond maybe the ambience of the shops where our customers walk in. It goes into the subconscious of the customer. What is it that the customer wants that they know they don't want? So for me, customer service is more like a system. It's a system that is put together to give the customer, that wanting to stay kind of thing. So yeah, for us, in terms of B2B and B2C, it's there's a lot of competition. Remember, we are a telco, and there are a lot of ISPs that are coming up. And there's a lot of technology. Technology is, ballooning. It's blooming. It's advancing. So yeah, for us, we need our customers are fragile. All of them, enterprise customers, individual, corporates, small businesses, all of them, they are very fragile in our perspective. So for us, there is no line between them. Yes, thank you.
Thanks a lot. That was perfect. I think, yes, I think you brought in a very interesting point that sometimes now the customers have been amalgamated, and you can't really say you're having a different strategy for B2C versus B2B customers. All right, so maybe I can jump to the rest part of this, which it's yeah. So now, when we're tracking our customers and trying to be interested about something has happened, like to have an interventions, there's certain metrics, we call them the CX or the customer experience metrics that are interested in. The first one is the customer acquisition cost. The customer acquisition cost is simply how much do you use for marketing. If I use, let's say, $10,000 to do Facebook ads, Twitter ads, and TV, etc., how many customers do I end up with for that? This is a very important metric because it tells you if a customer comes in, let's say I spend $200 on average to acquire a customer, I need that customer to spend more than $200 in the service that I'm providing so that I become a profitable entity. If I acquire a customer with $200 and the customer spends $150, I'm at a loss. So it's usually track, and one of the things the business usually told, like, hey, can you lower your customer acquisition cost by making videos go viral? It means you don't pay for a video to go viral, okay? But if you're paying for business, Facebook ads, Twitter ads, Instagram ads, that's a cost for that. So if you're very good at, for example, creating viral videos, your customer acquisition cost is close to zero. But if you have to augment that with other things, like most consumer-based business, like telco companies, spend a lot on refreshing their brand, doing ads. If you're an e-commerce business, you spend a lot of on ads. If you're fashion industry, you spend a lot of money on ads. Now, the customer acquisition cost is tied to another very important metric, which is the customer lifetime value. By looking at, customers come in and out of a service. Like Nyarad would say, there's competition in the telco industry. Then all of a sudden, a competitor launches something interesting, and then customers leave your service. Then you look at, on average, how long does a customer stay with me as a business? Then you'd say, customers stay with me for a year, or 2 years, or 3 years. Then you know that I only have this limited time window to extract value from this particular customer. So when, let's say, you acquired a customer at $200 and they're going to spend 1 year in your service, if they spend $10 every month, then at the end of the year, that will be $120. That would be a loss. So I want for this 1 year, I want to ensure that they're making more money. If the customer would spend 2 years, then I know I have more time to extract value from this customer. If they're going in 3 years, that, and you realize, like, if you have segments like enterprise versus consumer, you're likely to see that in the enterprise, customers tend to be longer. Businesses tend to be longer with you than consumers. Consumer, tomorrow something is launched, I no longer care about YouTube. I'm now on TikTok. Tomorrow something gets launched, I'm no longer on TikTok, I'm on Snapchat. I'm no longer on Snapchat, I'm on another service. Or if it's a telco business, I'll buy a SIM card of a competitor. If Amazon is selling books and someone else launches another book website, I'll switch easily. So consumers switch easily. So I want to know on average, what's the lifetime value? And the lifetime value is simply how long does a customer stay with me and how much do they spend with that period that the customer stays with my service. And the third metric, which we also track, is customer churn. Churn is the rate at which customers stop using a business. So you can find, like, every month I lose 5 customers, or every month I lose a quarter of the customers that I have. If you're acquiring a lot of customers and you're losing a lot, you're still at a very bad position. So you want to acquire a lot of customers as cheap as possible and retain them for a long time as possible and ensure very few of them leave per month. So churn rate can be looked at per month, per week, or even daily, depending on the service you're offering, or yearly, which is mostly, most businesses usually look at what is my churn rate per month. How many customers am I losing per month? Because that's business that has gone away. And then finally, cross-selling is meaning I want to, how many customers are buying additional services? Let's say you're a telco company, someone is using voice only, and now they're using data, and then again now they're using mobile money, and plus any other services that you offer. So how many of my customers are using additional services in my portfolio of the services or goods that I offer? If customers use only one of your services, that's a problem. So you want customers to buy more of your other offerings that are there. And in predictive analytics, it has always shown that the more products the customer utilizes, the high chance that the customer will remain. Think of banking. If you only have a current account where you receive your salary and withdraw it at the, immediately and use it for other things, you're not really a loyal customer. But if you have a current account, you have a loan, you have a credit card, you have an insurance with the bank, your relationship is tightened with the bank, so you're less likely to leave the bank because you're tightly integrated with them. So that's why you're always wanting to know, what are my cross-sell rate? What products and services am I using? And most of the time, it should say, like, if you're a consumer business and you're offering more than 5 services or products, you always want to have your customers utilizing at least 3 of your services and not 1, which is a big risk. Tomorrow, a competitor will launch something and then they'll all disappear and you'll be out of business. So now that you're tracking those metrics, one of the things you look at mostly for churn, but also for all those other related, is the framework known as RFM, which is for recency, frequency, and monetary value. I'm interested, how recent has a customer made a purchase? Did you make a purchase last month, this month, 1 month ago, 6 months ago? Because the more recent the purchases, the chances that you're still with me or you still like my services. The farther away it is, the more that you're losing interest in the service I'm offering or product. Then you go to frequently. How often do you make a purchase? Do you buy this twice a week, thrice a week, 5 times a month? The higher the frequency, the better. The lower the frequency, the worse it is. And then the monetary value. How much do you spend on that particular purchase? So did you spend $10, $50, $100? Then again, the higher the monetary value, the greater. The lower the monetary value, the loss. And one of the interesting things, if you do analytics, especially in the telco industry, your customers who are likely to churn are the ones who purchase, like for example, very small data bundles. Their mobile money transaction is very low. So your customers who spend, your high spenders are the ones who least churn in your business. So combining these 3 attributes gives you one metric that can tell you, this is a great customer, this is not a great customer, or this is a customer I'm supposed to care more about because he's at the mercy of competition. and etc. So I'll give one example, and then now I think we can open up this more to a conversation, ask questions on the chat, and also the fellow panelists. We can ask questions going across. So this is I was working for a telco company under the CVM department. So the CVM department is responsible for assisting other stakeholders in the company to achieve their targets. So if you are on mobile money, if you're on data bundles, if you're selling home internet, they're tasked to helping other departments to improve their targets. They primarily focus on below the line marketing, which means SMSs or notifications in the company's mobile app. So those are products in the company that was not doing particularly well, and they decided they wanted to improve the uptake of the product by 5% for that case. So we asked a question. So we want to, when we do a marketing campaign, we want to increase the conversion rate of people who receive the SMSs by 5% to 10%. And now take that as a data person and break it down. And like, I want to understand what drives product consumption. Is it because is it the product offering? Is it the marketing message? Is it the mobile device you have? Is it how many products you hold within the company? Then, so after that, we went through what we usually known as a CRISP DM, which is short for cross-industry standard for data mining process. What simply it means, it's just a framework that allows you to, first of all, take your business understanding. We want to increase the conversion rate of our marketing from 5% to 10%. Then you start with this, like, okay, do we have data for that? Yes, we have transaction data, we have browsing data, we have mobile money data. Then you take that data and now you clean it, you prepare it, you summarize it by week, by month, different factors, you do data preparations. Then the modeling stage is now where you create like a predictive model to say, like, okay, I want to predict what type of customers are likely to buy this product after understanding all these factors. And these factors come from your data preparation. Then once you build your model, you make your predictions. Then you evaluate based on other data. I predict this customer will buy this product. Did they buy it? Yes. If your prediction rate is great, you deploy this and say, okay, now send this group of customers an SMS, or these are the customers who are likely to buy this particular product. So go ahead with the marketing campaign or the rest. If not, you go back and ask business question. Did I ask the right question? Or should we reframe this question? Instead of uptake, let's look at their spend. We increase how much spending they are if the modeling doesn't work. So this is especially part is very interesting. So when it comes to marketing, most of the time, most companies will take $1,000 or $10,000. If it's deploy and see which customers take that up. That means you're doing like a blanket. It's like bombing a whole city, hoping that some terrorist was in that city that will die, instead of driving in and saying, like, okay, we think that, the terrorist is in the CBD area, so let's bomb the CBD. It's probably there. So this is what the process we did, and it helped you. And in this case, in the marketing case, there's actually 4 types of customers that you have. You have what you call the persuadables, who are customers who can be persuaded to purchase a product. Yeah. And then there are customers who, whether you market to them or not, they'll always buy your product because either they have a deep need or they like your brand, or for any other reason, they'll always buy your product. So you don't market to them. And then you have what you call the lost causes. These are customers which, no matter how much marketing you do to them, they'll never buy your product. Maybe they hate it or they had a bad experience or for that. And then there are customers who are called do not disturb. And these are customers who, they have been your customer perhaps for very long, and actually marketing to them makes them stop using your product. They don't want to be disturbed. Like, I'm your customer, I give you $500 every month, I'm okay, don't oversell to me. So what did we do in this particular project? We were to identify within the whole customer base of the telco who are the persuadables. Yeah. So in this matrix, you say treated means an intervention. In this case, it's an SMS. We're like, okay, in the telco company, it costs about $0.1 to send one SMS. And if you have 30 million customers, if you send to all of them, that's already like 3 million, close to 3 million shillings. Yes, 3 million Kenya. 3 million you're going to spend on SMSs, and that's a waste of money. And also the conversion rate is going to be crap. So which customers, if we send them an SMS like, hey, we're launching this new product, we'd like you to join this product. So identify this group of people. When treated, yes, they will buy. Then don't send SMS to this. So it is more of a customer segmentation, but also identifying who we should send the SMSs to. If you remember back in our CVM thing is like, okay, which customers qualify for this particular campaign, right? So it's a modeling machine learning thing. We take the customers who have bought that product and the customers who have not bought the product before. And from a machine learning perspective, machine learning is a technique which says, show me the outcome, I can recreate the outcome for you. In this case, so show me the customers who have bought this product before, show me the customer who haven't bought, and then I'll tell you which attributes highly predict the people who will buy and not buy this product, and even go ahead and predict the customers or new customers who come into the service who are likely not to purchase or purchase this particular product. So we went ahead, built this what you call a propensity model to predict who are the persuadables. Use techniques known as logistic regression. This is statistical stuff, and say who should be treated, who should receive this particular campaign. And as a summary of that, this is the name of the product. It was launched in April. So initially it had 400K active monthly users. Then, so they said like, hey, we need to start sending SMSs to this particular area. So every time the humans now in the team came up with a strategy, which was like, okay, every time you load up your SIM card with the airtime, we get an SMS like, hey, can you take up this particular product? It's interesting. That improved the uptake up to 800K. Then did some segmentation too. After this, there was a slight improvement. When now we did the segmentation and say like, okay, we're only going to target using this predictive model. We're only going to target a certain number users who are highly likely to purchase this product. This jumped to 800K, almost doubled the number of the number of monthly active users. So this is a situation where the marketing team, the CVM team, plus some analytics doubled up the uptake of the product. So in summary, you raise awareness, which is the marketing job. You measure your uplift, who is taking up this product. So you launch a product, you create an awareness, people start taking up this product, you're measuring how you're doing. Then you start getting the characteristics and behaviors of the users here. Then you predict who is likely to take up this product, you market to them, and boom, your product goes, your uptake goes high. So I think that's a good place to call it off and shoot up questions back.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. I think maybe we'll just take it to our other panelists. Would love to hear from Gwen and Miranda, maybe just in terms of their experience with big data and the clients that they've worked with, just kind of the areas of opportunities and maybe also the areas of limitations that big data has brought. If Gwen and Miranda can maybe share some insights on that. That would be amazing.
Thank you so much, Amira. Thank you, Chris. So I'm Miranda, and I've had the opportunity to work with a number of clients, both business to business and business to consumer. And I agree with Chris that it's often much easier or better to retain business to business relationships. That also coincides with the fact that you talk about where you say big payers or clients that pay frequently tend to stay longer with you as compared to consumers. So it's very important to then be able to track the metrics for both clients. And maybe some of the most important metrics that you can track to maintain or maybe to check your relationships could be the satisfaction score, and maybe you can do that using the sentiment analysis. It's so much easier nowadays with social media. A lot of clients post their sentiments about our services or about our products online. And it's that's one way we can use big data to try and harvest those sentiments from our clients, be it the consumer or be it other businesses. Most people post online how they feel about your service. So it's really good to try and harvest all that information and then use it to see how probably you can improve on your customer service and as a result retain your clients. Then also, as you said, Chris, it's important to track your churn on your clients. Such metrics will then give you insight on how best you can retain them. And also maybe the client conversion is also important because before you can keep a client, it's important for you probably to convert a lead client into an actual client that you keep. So that's probably some of the things that I've encountered during my journey with customers.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Miranda. Please continue.
I know. I think I was done. I was done.
Okay, wonderful. And maybe Gwen, from your end, is there anything else that maybe you kind of picked up in terms of using big data with your campaigns? Yeah, that would be quite useful to to look into.
Hi, thanks, Samira. Hi, everyone. I think one of the things we realized early on was to understand lead generation and how you can actually segment through lead generation, segment your potential customers, and the sort of data analytics like predictive analysis where you'd actually say, okay, based on their behavior, what are the chances that they're going to be buying our products? What are they going to do? And one of the things we did as well when I used to work with a charity organization, we wanted to try out, like, I don't know if you can hear me clearly. Can you hear me clearly? Yeah, okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thanks. So one of the things we tried to do was like come up with, it was sort of like a gamble really, with this whole idea of Tuesday giving, because we, as far as when it's an American thing, and we're like, okay, if people are already doing that, we know that there's Americans living in the UK. What are the chances that they're going to come on board and participate and give towards the organization? And whilst we're in the process of planning, Facebook announced that for every American who gives towards any charity organization, they're going to give £1 for every dollar they're going to match it. And we were like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So we started playing around with data to say, okay, on probability, these are the sort of number of people within the UK who are American. And you know, with Americans, they have to save the receipts, they've got to do their tax returns, American, all that. So we were like banking on that, and we actually managed to segment, and we were doing this via Facebook, because we said we're not going to use any other platforms to do the ads except for Facebook, because we knew that they were going to be giving money. And so we started segmenting them, and according to the age groups, because we knew although at that time they said majority of people on Facebook are the 18 to 25-year-olds, but we're starting to see the rise in 35 plus older people getting onto the platform, you know, interacting. And we knew that this is the age group that's going to pay us more, it give us more money in terms of like, so we started working towards that, and we segmented them according to their age groups and their sort of like professions and their interests and all that. And in the end, our target was to raise £10,000, but we ended up raising nearly £150,000 through that. So these are some of the platforms like to play around with. I'm not saying play around with people saying information, no, but there are places where you can actually learn how these AI machines work, learn how these algorithms work, and then you start, bit by bit, you start adding in other channels that you can use to try and reach out to the groups, the people that you want to be part of your brand, because at the end of the day, once you have those people and they trust you and they like your brand, they are going to go into other people about it. Because, like IDC recently stated that, like 67% of people trust family and friends when it comes to businesses. They don't really trust the actual business, but they trust what other people tell them. And if, for example, like now I've been observing on like Facebook, if I'm honest, especially with women, probably 80 or 90% of women, they don't go on Google to search for things. They come and ask, I'm looking for a traveling agency that, I can buy tickets, a reliable, travel agency. And they'll be like, people will state, they'll comment, let's say, try Travel House, try this one. And they'll give their reasons as to why they trust the brand. So it's another thing, like, well, now when you're working, you don't just think, we've got our product, we want people to come and, be part of our brand. Think about like, okay, what's the social story, the social mentions out there, even though it's a data set that we might not actually get through AI machines. You can actually get your people to go in there in those groups, social listening, get that information, say, okay, based on this month, we've had like maybe 10, 15, 20 people recommending our products. How do we increase that number to maybe 50, 60, 100 people recommending? So those are kind of things that I'll say I've come across, and we are using Facebook as our place to learn these things, and then we adapt for other different channels that we're working with.
Thank you so much for those insights, Gwen. I think you've brought up a very important point, and I think it's around privacy, which I think is a really interesting area when we think of data. I think we see what's happening with Facebook and Apple, and there's these large tech corporations in America and globally where there's this conversation around privacy. So I think I would just love to hear your opinions on at what point does this become kind of intrusive on on us as users, where a company has access to our data, kind of knowing how we think. I do this all the time. I literally will search for a holiday destination, and next thing I'm getting all these adverts, about, okay, travel to Cape Town. And I literally just looked at one hotel in Cape Town, and now I'm getting all these adverts. And so I think it's just interesting to know what your take is on privacy when it comes to data.
Oh, wow.
Yes, there is an interesting story about Target. I'm sure, most data analysts know about it, but maybe just to mention it, when Target did an analysis on the products that pregnant women buy. So they, started advertising. When someone's bought those kind of products, they would send more products to their email. So there is this gentleman who had her daughter sent an email to, and they were, products, baby products, cribs, and, like baby stuff. So he went to Target and said, "You're sending my high school daughter things for pregnant women. Why? Do you want to encourage her to get pregnant?" And the manager went to the data and he saw that, the traits are showing that there is a pregnant someone using your credit card. So the gentleman went and had a talk with her daughter, and she said, yes, I'm pregnant. So, with data, you can even predict some things that a person, does, or their traits before they even know they are possible or they have a possibility of doing that. So the issue of privacy comes into play. And, that's why many, countries or organizations, they are taking that data protection governance seriously, because the customer is giving up data in confidence that, I'm giving my name and surname and, age to TEL1. And, it's they are thinking maybe it's only for the service, but as companies, we use it for lead generation, for marketing. So I think as companies, we have to be careful. We have to sign, those consent forms are very important. When a customer is onboarding, you tell them, okay, you put your issues out there. We will use your data, for marketing, but not to third parties. The issue is now on selling the data to third parties. And, with that, companies should be very careful who handles their data. And, once, as people, as consumers, we have to know that once you give up your data, your information is already out there. Once it's out there, it's out there. You cannot take it back. So yeah, issues of data privacy are very important, especially in this age whereby, a lot of people have become tech savvy. Even the customers that we want to join our service, they have become tech savvy. We need to impress them. And it also falls into customer service, because the customer knows, they really know what they want. They really know what you can deliver, and they can read between the lines to say, okay, so, TEL1 is lacking in this aspect. So as companies, we also have to be very proactive. We need to be ahead, in most of the things, especially in customer service. We need to know what is it that we are giving the customer that they don't want, what is it that we don't have that they want, all those stuff. So yeah, it's very interesting, especially also when we talk of big data, because there is no big data with no data. And most of the data that we want to use is customer data. And yeah, issues of privacy are very important. And, I call on companies to be careful with how they use data, and yeah, all of that stuff. Yes, thanks.
And maybe just to add on, apart from calling on companies to be careful how they handle data, it's also partly part of the responsibility of the consumer, of the individual, because a lot of times we do not read the fine print. A lot of times we log on to websites, we log on to applications, and they actually ask us if we allow them to read our data, or if we allow them to read our pictures. And simply because we want to dive in, want to use the application, want to use the website, we click allow, yes, 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 yes. And before you know it, you've already put your data out there. And that's also the other reason why oftentimes we then get suggested or targeted marketing from the businesses now, because you've allowed them to use the data that you use when you're saving the browser. So now when they suggest products to you, you should not take offense because you allow them to do that. And also, as you say, Nyarazo, that's also one of the ways that organizations or companies harvest the data. So it really goes both sides. And then once the organizations have the data, it's also important to know the structure that you organizations use to deal with the data, because you find that sometimes organizations don't have in-house analysts, and they may then have to have a third party analyzing the data for them. And those transferability issues also come with breach in privacy, because we usually, maybe probably when the data is collected, it's behind a firewall. And then when it needs to be analyzed, we have to then transfer it to a third party. And that transferability process will leave the data vulnerable to either the people we're giving or to someone who's coming in. I'm sure we've had a lot of cases of late whereby there's been an increase in issues whereby databases or organizations have been hacked. All such rises are usually caused by people, predators mostly, who are also trying to get a hold of the data that you have, because data really is the new currency and the new oil. So it's really important for consumers and also for businesses to probably uptight their security measures when it concerns to data.
I have something to add to that. Data is like a knife. It can be used to make a very good meal, or it can be used to kill somebody. And the first example is there's this example about someone who was, I think, hiking, and then he fell down, and then he had an Apple Watch. And the Apple Watch, since it collects data about your heartbeat, I think your blood flow, and everything else about you, it had created a system to detect that this guy had actually fainted, and it automatically did a 911 call and sent the GPS locations to the 911 ambulance. And this guy would not have been alive without the Apple Watch. And even Apple released some statistics that I think every year an Apple Watch saves about 200 lives, because it helps. So people with the severe health problems are using Apple Watch to track several things for that. So that's one case where, you cannot argue data privacy, because in this case, data was used to actually save your own life, or it was used for public good. Then there's now the opposite side, the dark side. For example, in Kenya, I don't know whether in Zim it's the same thing. Like, we have scrolling betting companies all over. And these betting companies want to market to people who are addicted to marketing. So what they do, they go to telco companies, find someone who's there, pay them under the table, and then this guy would go and look at the traffic, the browsing traffic, and check people who have gone to betting site, and then create a list of phone numbers who have gone to betting site, and then sell that data to this guy. And then tomorrow you're receiving SMSs from this betting company. Oh, there's this new betting company in town. Now see that's like a clear, breach of for that. So I just wanted to give those two examples to show that data can go both ways.
Yeah, I think so. Like you already mentioned, Chris, you have the issue with geofencing as well, because I've seen it like here in the UK. If the moment I just Google restaurants near me, I'll just get all sorts of things. And like sometimes when I'm like, oh, I want to go this place, it's just, and then everything comes up. So I think I would like also striking a balance, like what Miranda was saying, that we as consumers as well, we have to take responsibility when it comes to what we want to see out there, what we want to share with other people. And to be honest, the dark side where these companies are selling our data to companies that are trying to market their product, we're not going to run away from it. We're not going to stop them from doing that. It's going to keep on happening. But what you have to do as a consumer, you have to really think through as to what you want to see. You've got the control to decide whether you want to accept those cookies so that they can accept all those privacy things, and then you get so that they can get access to your information, or you can simply say, no, I need to customize this, or I need to reject this completely. So it's really, it's difficult to say who is fully responsible for this. I think it's just a 50-50 situation. And I think the best thing that we can do as marketers to call out companies to be responsible and to be transparent, and not to just set in, not to just put in, say, allow cookies, but and all that, but without actually having those pages on their websites that explains what they're going to do with the data. I've seen some who just say, allow this, but when I try and go and read and understand exactly what they're doing, they don't really tell me the full story. So it's really important for companies to make sure that they address all these things, so that if I come as a consumer and say, I'm suing you for this and that, they'll be like, no, okay, look, this is what we had, and we explained it in detail, that this is how we collect your data and this is what we use it for. So, this is where you find companies are being sued, because they are giving people what they want to see instead of being transparent. And in a way, we're saying, it's important that consumers hold them accountable, and also at the same time we're saying consumers be responsible. Yeah, that's me.
No, I absolutely agree. We have a comment here that says, Chris, analogies are on violence, but very memorable. Data is like a knife. You can make a good meal with it, while someone you can kill with it. And they said, very good. I think we are running out of time, but I did have a last question. I think just to kind of end the program is, where do you all see the future of big data, and just kind of some predictions that you see, and particularly I think maybe in Africa, as it will speak to the markets that we are operating in. I think that would be the last closing question. Yeah, so I'll hand it over to everybody else.
Yeah, so I can go first. So in Kenya, our two big industries are agriculture and finance. So you find a lot of the big data science is being applied in agriculture as well as in finance. So credit scoring, smart farming, discovering different things about that. So I foresee in the near future, there'll still be a lot of concentration on agriculture and finance in Kenya. As more technology seeps into Africa, we're not yet at recommending pregnancy products we're still using the technology to look at how much we give farmers. Will a crop be successful this year? How much yield we have from maize, etc. What will affect our export of tea? That's where we're applying that and doing credit scoring, figuring out customer segmentation and that. So that market is very big. So we hope that it gets bigger and more be added to that. But where where the crazy AI data science is going to, like self-driving cars and all that kind of stuff. I think for Africa, we are still quite far from that. We need technology, we need expertise, we need investment in it so that we can get to self-driving tractors.
Yeah, I think I'll also add on to that, whilst also answering your question, Amira, that I think big data is where everything is going. Look at Internet of Things, everything at some point is going to be interconnected, or maybe not in Africa as yet, but in the third world, most things are already interconnected. So for maybe businesses or individuals who are looking to venture into big data or all the other industries connected to big data, like data analytics, data science, data engineering, I think the most important thing is not for you, whether as an organization or as an individual. It's important or imperative that you do not first invest in tools, because oftentimes I've noticed that organizations invest in tools for big data, but not in the skill. I think the most value is in the skill. Invest in people who know how to do things, hire people, train people, incentivize innovation, because you might get a tool, say maybe Alteryx, or maybe whichever database you want, thinking that this will be your solution for big data, but you do not have the expertise or someone who can actually interpret the data that you're having. You can say maybe, for example, collect your data and realize that maybe your sales are rising at the same rate that maybe people are going bold in your organization. That's the statistics, but that does not necessarily mean that those two variables are in as much as they're correlated, it does not mean that they have any relationship going on there. So you might depend on that and shape the organization, because you don't have the skill to actually interpret that data that you're getting from tools. So yes, big data is the end game for everything, but invest in the skill, invest in people who know what you want to do, and incentivize innovation, and not just invest on tools.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's very true, Miranda. The skills are needed, especially in Africa. We have a lot of ground to cover when it comes to big data, and also from experience, what I want, any company or people out there who want to get into big data, maybe for their products or customer service or anything like that, you need local data for your local solutions. You can't use data from Target to give your own solutions. So companies also have to invest in data. How credible is the data that they have? Their data in integrity. Are they collecting the right variables? Are they collecting valuable information that is able to give them valuable insights? So in Africa, especially in Zimbabwe, I have seen people are talking of big data. We want a data analyst. We want this, but they don't know what they are really doing. You know, there is a lot of education that is needed, especially with you know, and I'm bringing it local because I'm concerned with the progress, you know, like of our local people, even our nation. You find even the corporate leaders, they don't really know what data analyst analyzing is, or what big data is. But just because like a certain company now has a data a data department, they are saying, oh, so I need one. Why do you need it? What do you need for you, for your own company? Like, what is the custom? What is the local problem that you want to solve? And do you have the data for it? Like I said, you cannot have big data without data. Do you have the data to analyze? So most of the challenges that most data analysts are facing, or data engineers, is they get to a company and there is no data to analyze. There is no data to work with. And at the end of the day, you know, it's like maybe they are not doing their job, but we as the corporate leaders in our nation, in Africa, we need to know the foundations of big data. Yes, what do we really need for us to have value in terms of big data as a nation, as Africa? Like I said, we cannot use data from the UK or from, we need our local data. We need to invest in collecting data. So yeah, that's my, and yeah, big data as a future, like all industries are now adopting it. The healthcare, like what Chris said, the you know, the commercial, the bankings, even in schools, it's, you know, you can now determine who goes to university, who doesn't go to university, what percentage of students that graduated or that wrote exams are likely, you know, to get a place and stuff like that. So yeah, it's, every sector is now, it can be data driven. It's like data, making decisions using data. So in any sector you can use data, but what you need is valuable data with integrity, and that is local, that can solve your own solutions. Yes.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think as well, one of the things that we realized, like when I was working with another web development agents, is that we have different departments, and every department wanted to have their own data sets. They wanted this, they wanted that. So we ended up using tools like Power BI. It's a Microsoft data analytics tool. So we started saying to each and every department, give us your data sets based on your aims and objectives, your goals. Then we would tabulate that data into the system for them. So that way we had like one place where that all that data was brought in and analyzed, and then they would have their results, and then they'll go on and say, okay, this is what we need to do, this one we need to implement. But sometimes there's that danger of saying, you know, each department deal with your data set, and yet at the end of the day, you've got one brand promise, one brand ideology to say this is what the brand should achieve. So you have to find a way of creating maybe a platform where you can actually bring in on these different data sets so that they speak one story, even though you have different KPIs to measure. But at the end of the day, you've got one end goal for the company. So you find like right now, like here, we are playing around with AI machine for optimization, for operational and innovation intelligence. And we're also using this to try and help create CRM softwares, not just for the retail or the hospitality industries, etc. Like right now, we are in the process of testing CRM software for healthcare companies, because in hospitals they're already using these platforms to like right now here in the UK hospitals, you no longer have to write notes on paper. You type everything straight onto the computer or the tablet, whichever gadget you're using. And we're now trying that for communities as well. Say if someone is being looked after in their own home, you have that system available. So it's really important to start thinking in terms of like cloud systems that you can use to incorporate all that data and have that one single story for the brand. So if you want, I think there's a company, an online retail company called Wayfair. That's what they used to give third parties their data to try and understand the whole these different touch points in their customer mapping journeys. But now they have everything under one cloud system, and they have invested in data scientists who are now then looking at that data to say what's working for the brand and what needs to be improved. So I think it's really important, like what Miranda and what the other panelists are saying, that it's about time, especially in Africa, that companies invest in training data and analysts so that you can have people who can actually look at those data sets and help you make that decision. Because where we are heading is your data that matters more than anything else. And you can be, because sometimes we overlook some of the data sets, like let's say if you're marketing on social media, sometimes we overlook certain things, and yet these platforms are providing you already with the statistics that you need in order for you to improve on your content and other marketing bits that you need. So that's what I thought I'll just add in. Yeah. So it's really important we have those things in place.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So I know I said that was the last question, but we actually got two questions, which I'm just going to try and combine them in one question, which I think we can just briefly answer. So there was a question about how do companies actually create data collection? Like what processes and what kind of systems do businesses actually invest in to get the data? And then there was a question from Eve where she said that she found it very interesting, but she wanted to know how these discussions can be shared with CEOs to enhance knowledge by decision makers who are charged with the responsibility to drive business performance and governance of data. And then she also says the issue of data privacy is critical, especially when we're trying to grow our business while at the same time managing risk. Can you comment? Yeah. So maybe we can just touch on, I know there's quite a bit of parts to answer, but I think just really how do businesses set up the data collection processes? What kind of tools are they? I know that it might be quite technical, but maybe if we can just break it down in terms of what options businesses might have. And then lastly, in terms of taking it to CEOs, in terms of how we can use data, what kind of engagement processes do you think we could actually have with decision makers?
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, like, for us, what we do what we call gated content. So we say to you, if you want us to give you this kind of information, in return, give us something, and that something is your email address. So we're using subscriptions as our basis to collect data. So if you have a website or you do blogging content, or sometimes even if on Instagram, say subscribe for more to get more deals, and that we then take those emails and create automation. Then we start working with that data. That's how we collect our data. So subscriptions is one way of doing it. It doesn't have to be emails only. You can actually integrate your WhatsApp business onto your website, and then people can opt to receive information via WhatsApp. So that is another data set, because when you have products or services that you're marketing, you can send it to them directly via their WhatsApp. So yeah, that's what we are using most of the time to capture the data that we need.
Awesome. Thank you, Gwen. Is there anybody else who maybe wants to add to that before we close up?
Yeah, yes, I would like to add on to that. One other way of collecting data, because you realize that most all organizations are already generating data, but probably how the data is stored, or for some, it's even as bad as that the data is still on hard copy. So probably one way to do that is to have an electronic way of capturing all the data. And for some organizations, maybe I'll refer to banks who already capture the data electronically, you realize that they might have maybe 20 or so products. Like you realize that each time maybe a product is rolled out under a different name, even into the same bank or the same, maybe say for Econet, it is a lot of products like EcoCash, societies that. So you realize that some organizations might have a lot of products, but those products are in different departments and therefore are stored in different data spaces. So it's then difficult to store comprehensive or to collect comprehensive data. So one way to do that is to automate processes and then also to ensure that the repositories for the various products or the various sections that you have all seek or all pour into one repository. That's easier than to deal with your data.
I can go on CEOs. So how do you get CEOs on board, and while trying to managing risk? So one of the things that you know that the data science, the skill itself is an expensive skill. So hiring a data scientist is very expensive. You also might have to purchase other piece of hardware and software to make very easy for that. So for most CEOs, they care about the balance sheet. That's the first thing they care about. So the two ways of approaching this, or the two way of shaping the CEO's mind. When you have a company that's already collected data, then it's convincing the CEO this is something we already have that we're not utilizing. There are trade secrets there. There are consumer insights sitting there. There is some new product we could build inside there. We just need to hire a data scientist to unlock that information. So you can say, we can create new products, which means new revenue. We can optimize our systems through that, which means saving money. And we can discover more things to do around that. So it's showcasing how data science can lead into more profitability or saving money. That's how we convince a CEO. But then also you have the state of saying like, hey, we if you invest in research and invest in what is likely to be companies, when a company is tight in the budget, I understand it could be a very hard sell for the company to bring in this new skill set. But when you look at the very big stories like how was Kodak went out of market, how did these companies, because they stopped innovating, they stopped thinking about what's the next best thing. So you need to convince the CEO this is the next best thing. If we don't keep up the wheel on what's next, and things like, I don't know, blockchain and crypto, and how do we integrate that into a business? There's this big thing called data science. How can you utilize it for stuff? So we can do this for the purposes of keeping the company fresh. Insurance companies that have been there for hundreds of years. We've not had a new way of scoring, evaluating risk, for example, of customers. And right now, I think it's in South Africa, where it's like if you buy an Apple Watch and walk 10,000 steps a day, we'll reduce your insurance premium by this amount because we know you're keeping healthy. So like, hey, this is something that company X discovered, and now they're saving money on this. Take examples of companies that have succeeded using data and showcase to the CEO. Okay, this company did this and they succeeded. This company did that and succeeded, and make a mini case that we were sitting on a Goldman. That's how you convince the CEO. But it's it's not a very easy sell. But another thing is also to do trainings, because most CEOs probably don't come from a finance background, and they don't have an understanding of all this hula value about data. So doing trainings, not the technical trainings, just the high level trainings, showing example, this is what data can do. There's this thing called machine learning, AI. It's applied in this way, and it helps in ABCD for that. So you can do, and I remember I was working at a bank, and one of the things I had to do as my role was every month I had what you call an executive data science executive training, where the whole top I would go and talk about what I do but in a very simple and business-focused way. Like I pick data, I clean it, I use it to see this and this. I advise the sales team, I advertise them, I advise the marketing team, and then they're like, okay, yeah. So how did that turn out? I'm like, okay, I saved marketing, $100 last month. I help the sales team close more deals. I make them discover customers who are likely to leave and they did not leave. And then they're like, oh, this is good. Yeah, now we can keep doing this. That's how you win the C-suite over, and go ahead and launch data science. And even if it's launching, make it a soft launch. Don't say like, we need 5 data scientists, 2 analysts, that'll be like, no. Like, let's say 1 person, 1 problem, 1 data scientist, 1 problem, you solve that. Then it's like, if you feel it's too risky, let's set up a mini thing. Let's hire 1 person, let's put him on our most challenging problem. And then if it's successful, that in itself will make a case for data and data science being used in the company.
Awesome. So I know there's a lot of questions that are coming through, but I've just noticed that we've gone 30 minutes over our allocated time. I think we probably need to have part 2 of big data, because it seems to have, I think, lots of questions that have come through. But I just want to thank everybody, and just to remind you, if you have any questions that maybe weren't answered, we are going to be able to assist. You can use the email that's in the chat to send through, and we will gladly assist. And yeah, we look forward to actually having more of this. And thank you so much to the panel for bringing all this information and breaking it down a bit so that you're not afraid of all the scientific jargon behind big data. So it's really been insightful, and we thank you for your time. And we look forward to more fruitful engagements. And we hope everybody had a great time as well. Please do share your questions. We will answer them. It's unfortunate that we've run out of time. But yeah, we are looking forward to doing more of these.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye.
Thank you.